So those are the startup grind values. We're really here to make each other out and just really advance the world of entrepreneurs. And I'm really excited today because we are here with, whoops, we're going to watch those values again. So it's about giving first, making friends, and helping others. Okay, we got to figure out how to do this. All right, where is my... All right, well, I do have a slide here. There we go. So this is Startup Grind Kansas City. And we're really excited today to have with us 3 female founders. We met at the beginning of the pandemic, something I never ever do, but I saw a Facebook ad and it drew my attention and I clicked on it and I signed up for a 5-day boot camp. And so I'm really excited today. I have with me the founder of Sprinters who executed that boot camp, and it really has turned into a valuable asset for me and my startup, as well as the founder of BON+BERG, which is a sustainable undergarment company, and the founder of DiveIn Network. So ladies, welcome. Sprinters, BON+BERG, and the DiveIn Network. And we're going to have our conversation today with Mevish Aslam from Sprinters, Siobhan Dunphy from BON+BERG, and Shreya Parekh from the DiveIn Network. Ladies, I want to thank you so much for being here today with us. And I'm going to stop sharing now so we can just dive right into our conversation. I think, Mevish, let's start with you. Let's talk a little bit about why you started Sprinters. What sort of gave you that inspiration to create a community for female founders and creators?
Great question. First of all, Carolyn, thank you for having us. I'm excited to be here. Really good to see familiar faces. It's good to see you all again. I think the idea for Sprinters came after I had a burnout. I started traveling and I got involved with different startup ecosystems literally around the world. So I spent a lot of time in Europe, in North Africa, and then an EU commission program took me to Brazil, where I was working with the University of Sao Paulo. So I spent a lot of time in South America, and I realized that there was never like enough women in tech or in entrepreneurship. And I thought, what's going on? Like, there must be more women like me. Like, where are they? I don't see them. And then I realized a lot of the startup programs didn't cater or didn't really support a lot of the a lot of women, like offering like a holistic kind of approach. So that's where the idea for Sprinters came. And then once we got back from Brazil, we put together a boot camp in Dublin. This is when I was back in England. We put together a boot camp in Dublin to coincide with the tech summit. Tech summit in Dublin. I forgot the name, it's been so long. The Web Summit in Dublin. So we put that together in literally 30 days, fully remote, and that was like a really great success. We had Twitter sponsor the event. So that was like just an idea, and we thought, okay, we had this idea, like what can we do to run with it? And we just ran with it, and you know, the rest is history. We've been doing boot camp since then.
Yeah, I will say I learned a lot from the boot camp, and I still use the resources from that boot camp for, some of the work that I'm doing now. And I will say that our other 2 speakers today, Shreya and Siobhan, we met in that boot camp, and I'm someone who needs accountability, someone to sort of say, Carolyn, what are you doing? And are you doing it? And we started an accountability group, and we've been meeting for over a year now, once a month, to talk about our businesses. So I want to bring Shreya and Siobhan on. I'd like you both to introduce yourself and, talk a little bit about your businesses and, what you got from the Sprinters community and that boot camp. Shreya, why don't we start with you?
Hi, Carolyn and everyone. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. So I started DiveIn Network, and when I launched it, I was just at the beginning of launching it when I discovered Sprinters a long time before. And I guess it was probably at its infancy. And then Mevish moved it on to, is it Mighty Networks? Yeah. So I joined on that and it went on from there. So I decided to launch DiveIn Network, which is essentially a network community for underrepresented, represented people to come together. It's a sense of bringing other communities together. And the reason why I created it is because lots of people and communities are working on their own, doing their own thing, whether that's related to women, Asian women, women in tech, Black women in tech, disabilities, LGBTQ. There's lots of communities and groups out there doing amazing things, but I wanted to connect the dots and connect them all together, because essentially for me, it's about we're all doing great things, but we also need to learn about each other in order to kind of improve on diversity and inclusion and in just society in general. So that's where the idea of DiveIn came from. We run monthly events. We run spotlights on people from different backgrounds to share their journey to where they are now. We have newsletters that go out, and we also have blog posts that go out every week, all focused on topics around diversity inclusion. So we have guest bloggers writing for us, and they go out onto our website and through social media as well. So that's where I am at the moment. And for me, sprinters, there were a lot of other networks I was looking at, female only networks for startups, and I looked into sprinters, and it just attracted, I was attracted to it straight away because it was diverse and it was global. And for me, that is something that I resonate with. So yeah, I kind of plunged myself into sprinters, and really it has been amazing. Mevish is an amazing founder at Sprinters. She's been very helpful and really actually has built up my confidence a lot. And I met amazing founders there, including you, Carolyn, and Siobhan. Like you said, we have our monthly accountability calls. So yeah, that's me.
I will say that's what I love about it too, being global, because hearing from both of you and from Mevish, in fact, Mevish, I think you were in Malaysia when we did that June boot camp. And the thing that really has resonated with me being in DE&I work was that we're global. So when Siobhan is sitting in Austria and she's talking about some of the challenges in that country, I don't even think about those challenges. Here, I have a different set. And for you both in the UK now. So I think that's an asset and one of the values of having sprinters like it is. Siobhan, let's hear from you.
Yeah, so I launched my business in February this year. So, which is sustainable bras and underwear. And I guess I think that the business probably would have stayed an idea if it had not been for sprinters in the community I've built. So my story with sprinters is the first time I encountered the group was in Dublin. I attended one of the events, which I don't even remember what it was. I think it was like start a business, put together something like that. And at the time, I was actually looking to start my own freelance business. And then I ended up moving to Austria from Dublin and working freelance for a few years, but keeping kind of in touch with the sprinters community and with Mevish. And so when the boot camp came along, I was like, I had at the time the idea that I wanted to start this brand. I wanted to start this sustainable underwear company. And I thought, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Because I think part of the reason we never do things or start things is because we don't actually make the time for it, especially if you're working all the time. So the boot camp for me was one, because I'm not normally, a social network type person or anyone to be part of these kind of communities, but the draw to me there was one, making the time to do it. So the boot camp gave me that excuse where I've like committed to these 4 days to spend with these other women who have the same goal as me. And the other thing was the fact that it was women like you guys, like Carolyn, like Shreya and Mevish, who are also working towards the same thing, and they're trying to, build a business, and they have challenges as well. They might be different challenges, but we all have challenges. So that's how kind of I became part of the group. So really, Sprinters has been a huge part of me making the business, and having those weekly or those monthly calls and sometimes bi-weekly calls is so hugely important when you're starting a business on your own. So yeah, it's been absolutely amazing, and it's so nice today to be here to kind of talk and tell everybody about it. So I'm really happy that Carolyn organized this so we can share our experience, and hopefully it pushes other people to do that too.
Well, and I think what's really empowering for me was finding out there are other women out there thinking and feeling the same way I do, right? Like, can I really do this? Oh, I've got imposter syndrome. You know, who am I to be this expert? I mean, just all those sort of vulnerabilities and uncertainties. And listening to, you know, even Mevish talking about she wasn't even sure this would work. She's going to do this 5-day boot camp. You know, I sometimes, and the one thing that I take away from that boot camp, and I'm doing it now in my new startup, is MVP, minimum viable product, right? And, you know, and I think that's too, like when you were starting with your sustainable garment company, just get some bras and underwear out there, right?
Just
and
start.
Shreya, for you, it was just have an event. And I still think about that neurodiversity event. You know, I'm think about those stories, and it makes me just want to strive and continue to move forward. So I've gotten a lot out of it. And I'm so appreciative that I have found all of you. And I want to, again, thank you for being here with Startup Grind, because Startup Grind really is about helping others, giving back, and wanting others to succeed. And I feel that that's what we're all doing for each other as we are embarking on this journey. So I want to switch a little bit and go to asking each of you what has been the greatest challenge as a female founder. And I know, Mevish, why don't we start with you, because you the other day were talking about the first pitch you ever did and how horrible that was. So, you know, let's start there, because I thought that happens to a lot of women, I think. And I think that needs to change. And we can do that by being empowering with other women as well. So go ahead.
That's true. So I'm actually an introvert. Like, I put my hands up when I started traveling at 23, over 10 years ago. I was like complete introvert. I couldn't speak to anyone. I'd be extra shy. I just couldn't have this conversation with like you, anyone here, or anyone else at all, because that's how shy I was. When I started traveling, I opened up a bit more. So when I was in London, I got selected for the startup pitch, and it was one of the first pitches I got chosen for, and I was super excited. And back then I had this idea of like Airbnb, but for photographers and videographers. It's just one of these ideas I was playing around with. So I got selected. So I was invited to London for the day at this pitch event, and we had mentors for the whole morning, but they would like support you on your pitch. And me being the introvert that I am, still slowly opening up. Now I can do like host events and stuff, but back then, there's no way I could do that. I was like honestly, a nervous wreck. I'm not afraid to admit that. I couldn't do that. So when I was pitching, naturally, I was super nervous, and I was like literally shaking on the stage. And all the other startups, they were all male founded. I was the only female founder there. And when the mentors on my pitch, they were like, oh, you need to take drugs before you pitch later this afternoon. And I was like, what? Rather than comfort me and tell me like, hey, you can do this, so like this is how you can improve, he's actually kind of mocking me and saying, hey, go take drugs to see it through. So that was like not the best advice I've had. So that's one experience. And then there was a government startup program called Sirius in the UK, and it was funded by the UK government, where they support British and international startups to launch in the UK. And they also pay each founder around £1,000, which is like around $1,500 a month for 12 months. So I'm having coffee with my friends, and I tell them like, hey, look, I got selected, and we're all startups, right? And one of my startup friends, he's like, he didn't get accepted, but he's like, so Mevish, who did you sleep with to get accepted on the program? And I was like, what?
What?
Are you for real? Because this program is super exclusive, right? And not all the starters get accepted. I think it's like 30 out of like 2,000 or 3,000. So it's super, super competitive. And he was like, not happy he didn't get selected, but he's like, oh, who did you sleep with to get selected? And I was like,
So,
wow.
yeah, his automatic assumption was that you didn't get there on your merit, but that you got there for doing.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that would have been really disheartening, and I probably wouldn't be friends with him anymore, but
Why
that
not?
would yeah.
we parted the place.
Yeah, that's too bad. Well, congratulations on that, because I'm sure that's helped you along on your journey, right? To
Yeah,
where you are
exactly.
today.
You just choose your friends wisely, like you do anyway, like in and outside of work. I mean, I don't have a huge group of friends. Like a small group of friends is fine, so long as it's people that I trust and like rely on that are there for me.
Right.
But not friends that
Would
say
put you down or say those kinds of things. Yeah, that's not very good inclusive language for sure. Shreya, how about you? What was been one of your biggest challenges getting yourself started as a female founder?
Yeah, I mean, similar to Mevish, you know, I wouldn't say I'm an introvert, but I do get extremely nervous when presenting and doing, you know, events and things like that. And like Mevish said, you know, once you start or come across events or just start speaking, yes, you might be nervous, you know, at the beginning, but you do get used to it. Now that I run my events, I'm not saying that I'm really, really confident, but I do get a little bit nervous, but I do run events a lot more effortlessly than I did probably the first one. I think the first one I did, it ran well, but I was super, super nervous and I could
Right.
feel myself inside, you know, thinking, and I put the events off for so long. I kept putting them off. I'm going to do an event. I'll do one soon. I'll do one soon. And that's all that kept happening until
Right.
Mevish gave me, you know, a real push. And, you know, just, I don't know what she said. She said something and said, look, just do it. I want you to do this today. And even with LinkedIn, right, I want you to write something on LinkedIn today and we're going to publish it. And I did it. And I thought, nothing happened. It's fine. Why am I worrying? And at
Yeah.
the end of the day, nothing happens. Okay. You may have some people like maybe Mevish came across, you know, making the odd comment, but really and truly, what's that going to do? If you train your mind to think in a positive way and ignore people and really kind of speak to yourself with positiveness, because we all tend to have that negative voice, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm gonna be so shy. I'm gonna, you know, shake. I'm gonna be doing this, and all the negative talk
Right.
is bad. You know, you just got to try and be as positive as you can. But you know, I've come across lots of things. Even when I had my tech startup many years ago, I was pretty much the only woman in the meetings and in networking events, especially in tech.
Yeah.
And I was probably the oldest woman and probably the only woman of color and the oldest woman. And
You just had all of it coming at you, didn't you?
yeah, but
Yeah.
at the beginning I was a bit nervous and I thought, oh God, you know, I'm in a room full of men that are in their 20s and I'm in my mid 30s, you know, how's this going to work? But it was okay. You know, you start mingling and it's not about your age or anything. It's about the conversation you're having.
Right.
And that's all that counts really. You know, I've had experiences going to exhibitions where, you know, I've had to rock up with my child in a pushchair, in a stroller. And at the gates, they said, sorry, you can't come in. And I said, why not? Because we're not sure, you know, you're not insured to bring a child in.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, well, I can't do anything about that. And I said, that's discrimination. And then they, as soon as I said that word, they went and checked, and then they let me in. You know?
It's funny how that happens. I completely I feel you, because I remember when I went to get this Startup Grind chapter, I thought, oh, I'll fill out the application. You know, what can happen? Well, then they selected me, and I thought, oh, what have I done? Because then I realized, oh, I actually have to have events and I have to talk to people, and oh my goodness. But I think, like you, I have become more confident. And I actually said something to someone the other day. I said, you know, I probably could have been a Phil Donahue or a Sally Jesse Raphael, right? Just because I've discovered that I love talking to people and learning and this, you know, conversation. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to say welcome to Nimra and Tony. It's great to have both of you here joining us. And let's hear from Siobhan, and then we'll hear from our guests if they have any questions. So Siobhan, we've been talking about challenges as a female founder, and what have you faced as a female founder?
I would say it's probably quite similar. I guess I think it's two things which are probably linked as well. So the one is I don't like to ask for help, and you can't do anything by yourself. And I think that stems from imposter syndrome, which is that confidence thing, and that's, who am I to start a business? I don't know anything about it. And I don't know if it's specifically related, because I also have started a business in something I don't have a background in. But even, you know, I think that probably stems from like growing up and deciding to do, I studied engineering, you know, when I was in college, and it was the same thing. I'm not supposed to be here. You know, I was told, you know, engineering's for boys. You know, you're not smart enough, you're not good enough. And then I think it just follows through. So you have this idea, what am I doing here? I'm not supposed to be doing this. And so asking for help and talking to people is actually the way you get over it then, because, you know, speaking to people like Shreya, who have had like similar, where she's been, you know, I have a totally different situation, but still in different ways being discriminated against, or being told, you know, you can't do that because of this, because of X, Y, Z. You're a parent, so you can't come in. Like, you're a woman, so you shouldn't be here. You know, I think hearing this and going, wow, that's ridiculous. You look back at yourself and you're like, why do I feel like this? That's ridiculous. So sharing those stories and asking for help and building a network helps start to believe that, okay, yeah, you should be doing this. But it's still, I think for a lot of people, feeling like an imposter in what you're doing is a big issue and a big challenge to get over.
Yeah, I remember
from the business aspects, like finding money and finding whatever else.
Right. I remember reading a study, and then it's been a while. I would have to go dig it up again, but they were talking about girls. And as young girls growing up, they are strong and confident, and we really socialize them to feel like they can do anything. But then something happens around the middle school time frame. You know, as they're going through puberty, as they're starting to feel that pressure of being around their peers, and they lose that confidence. And, you know, I feel like there's a business model out there that we need to keep that confidence going through those difficult years, because I think then they would become, you know, full disclosure, it took me into my late 40s, early 50s to feel confident. And I'm still struggling now, you know, in my early 60s, of being confident in myself. And if we can take that confidence of those young girls and keep it going into young women and adulthood, I think that the things that we're talking about as challenges as women would be less, because they'd have that confidence and less of that vulnerability aspect that really has sort of resonated through all of the challenges that the four of us have been talking about. And Tony's here in the chat. You know, his wife is an architect, and like you, Shreya, an introvert, but she's learned to overcome it. Tony, would you like to join the conversation and ask some questions, or, you know, share perspective? It'd be great.
Actually, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm here today. My wife and I have started a small maker brand, selling earrings and 3D printing. And, she'd been the architect designer, and I've got a manufacturing background making 3D printed stuff. As you can tell, I'm also British, so I've kind of lived in America, but seen these different cultural experiences towards how people treat one another, and I'm kind of very sensitive to how women have been not given a fair hand, shall we say. So I'm here today to really just listen to different perspectives and see what I can do to support women. Just try to support my wife as much as possible, and through our brand, hopefully, being a startup, we only started in June.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So, my full-time job, I work at a faith-based nonprofit in the city, and a lot of our people are in India and Philippines and Central America and Europe and stuff. And I just see how women are mistreated around the world. So I'm fully invested in doing what I can to help be an advocate and ambassador for women's rights globally. And so I'm here today really just trying to be here on behalf of my wife, or with her, shall we say, to listen in and to listen to different perspectives and see what I can do to participate. So I guess I don't really have any questions at this point. I just saw the startup grind, thinking we're a startup, and thought, oh, it's a women-centric event. I really want to listen into that and see what I can do to learn and listen to more of the challenges that women face.
Oh, well, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. I will say, I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, in the U.S., and there are a multitude of entrepreneurial resources and organizations. And so I really wanted the Kansas City chapter to be geared towards helping other women become entrepreneurs. I just saw, I think it was yesterday, that over half of the new businesses started during this pandemic have been by females, women founders, because women were more impacted by the pandemic, having lost their jobs and unable to, in some cases, go back to work because of childcare issues and things like that. So I was really enlightened and heartened by that women are really out there empowering small business, starting small businesses, and really getting out there and, being a part of the conversation. So, thank you for being here as well. Okay. So ladies, what is the next chapter? Mevish, we know you have a few things on your plate, but for sprinters, what do you see happening, maybe say over the next couple of months? What are some of the things that you want to do for the female founders?
At the moment, we're looking at systemizing a lot of what we have. We have a lot of content, like we're super content heavy. We have a lot of online courses as well. So it's consolidating a lot of what we have into something that's easier to digest. So we're extensively working on that. If I'm going into next year, I think it's still planning for that in the next coming months. But I think for the remainder of the year, it's just systemizing a lot of what we have, because we have so much content. So we've done a good job of organizing that right now. But now it's like, okay, how can we make it easier for our members to digest? Because you don't want to read something and then think, okay, what did I learn from that? You want to take away something that's actionable that you can apply, then it sticks with you longer. So that's where we are right now.
Do you have any boot camps coming up for female founders, or anything that you are thinking about? I've actually told quite a few people about that boot camp, and I tell them, keep looking on Facebook, go to her website.
We are looking at a self-paced boot camp, because we have a lot of material. And the last boot camp we did, for each day of the boot camp, we had 3 different speakers. So there's so much content and value from all the different speakers that we had, and that's all pre-recorded. We recorded that, we've cut it up into digestible videos. So we're looking at creating a self-paced course, so you can pop in and do it whenever you have time or around your holidays.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I think, and sometimes for myself, I know I've gone in and looked at a few of the recordings from previously, and something you'd said to me recently, I am going to reach out to Professor Mack and ask him to do a session with us as well, because I thought he was really great. And had some great insights into, you know, trying to get businesses off the ground. So
Yeah,
again, another resource that we got from Sprinters. So,
Simon's amazing. You should.
yeah, absolutely. Shreya, how about you? What's up for DiveIn? I know you have an event coming up. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I have an event coming up focused on recruitment. So diversity and inclusion in recruitment and the workplace. Really, we're going to have some panelists on, and we're going to discuss, you know, what are best practices? How do you get more diversity in companies? Best practices for recruitment, and so on. So we'll be having a kind of thought-provoking conversation about that, and then a Q&A. Really, the plans for DiveIn, I'm also in the middle of thinking about where to take it next. You know, it has been run like this for almost a year now. So I'm going to continue with the events up until December, which is a plan, you know, different topics for each event. And then really I'm going to either think about making it into, you know, registering it as a formal company, or letting it, like Mevish, sustain itself and keep running as it is. You know, we have some great volunteers. I have some great volunteers helping me with DiveIn, and to be honest, they're doing a great job in each aspect that they're working on, whether that's marketing or events and so on. So yeah, I could just keep running with that, but I am looking to launch another business, which is going to be focused on e-commerce. So I'm researching that as well at the moment.
So you're busy. That's great.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. And Siobhan, how about for you?
Sorry, I just realized, I think Shreya forgot to mention her book.
Oh yeah, sorry.
You were writing a book? Thank you, Mevish.
I forgot to mention that. So yeah, I'm also in the process of writing a book, which is around immigration in the UK. So it's focused on stories of immigrants that came to the UK, more kind of my mum's age, I guess, in the 60s, 70s, and their story of, you know, where they came from, how they got here, what were their experiences when they came here, what did they do, what was their journey like, and so on. Because those stories aren't captured. And, you know, when I sat down with my mum and interviewed her, it was such an insight into her life. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize that. You know, bits and pieces and snippets of information, but I just didn't realize what she actually went through and how she was feeling, and, you know, the detail of it. So I'm in the process. It's really interviewing people that, you know, had these experiences, and it's not just focused on women. I want to actually, the aim is to get insight from people from all different backgrounds, men, women, like, or non-binary, and really connect the dots as well, and say, you know, yes, we're all from different backgrounds, but we do share a lot as well. And these are the things we all share. You know, we're not all, oh, I'm Asian, so I'm very different from you. So you know, it's actually, yes, we all have our own identity. We really do. But we also have a lot of things that are in common, and we should really embrace that. So that's what I want the outcome of the book to be about as well. Yeah.
I love that. I love hearing other people's stories, because I remember my grandparents came to visit, and we were dropping them off at the hotel, and they were walking across the parking lot, and I looked at my mom and I said, oh, look, Grandpa's holding her hand. Like, I thought that was so odd. You know, I was like 15, 16 years old, and my mother said, Lynn, they've been married for over 45 years. He still loves her. Of course he's going to hold her hand. I thought, they've been married for 45 years. I mean, I just, the concept and the thought of it. And I realized I knew nothing about my grandparents, right? They were just these people that would come to visit sometimes. And so then I really started talking to my grandmother and I would write her letters because I wanted to know more about my grandmother. And after 45 years, they still loved each other. So I think that's wonderful to go and get those stories, because how else will we learn, right? Yeah. And
That's
how
really
about for you, Siobhan? Oh,
Carolyn,
Mevish.
we need a grandparents chapter. So if you're up for writing that book, I would definitely be interested in reading that too. I think there's so much knowledge from our grandparents that we can take in, as much wisdom that's, we're losing. It's really good to capture that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
And, someone out there who doesn't understand what non-binary means, or what a refugee journey might look like, again, creating awareness and understanding. And that's really all that you're asking someone, is to just be aware and maybe understand a story and a journey. And that really then does help change hearts and minds, so I'm excited to read that. Siobhan, what's up for you and what you're doing?
Just to add on to that, I think like a lot of people being offended by things, or people, is a lot of the time it can be people just don't know. So the stuff that both you and Caroline and Shreya are doing is fantastic, because sometimes it goes both ways, where people don't know that if they're using a certain term, it's rude, or they're saying a certain thing. It's a lack of awareness as well. So yeah, making people kind of more aware and hearing stories, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sure.
The thing is, and the thing with, with DiveIn Network is, it's actually, I want to take the fear out of, oh God, am I going to say the wrong thing? Do I belong here? Do I not belong here? Because I don't know what to say. I don't know how to act. It's become a lot of, a lot of people are scared now as well to, in case they say the wrong thing. But, people have to remember, not everyone knows everything. And yes, you can Google stuff, but when you hear about people's stories and experiences, you do learn. And that's the point of our events as well, learning about other people and thinking, oh, I didn't know that about the LGBTQ community, or disabilities, or, people of color, or whatever,
Yep.
Oh, okay, I get it now. I shouldn't really say that, or that kind of thing. So it's not about going there, why did you say that? I don't want to do any finger pointing. Yes, of course, if it's racist or really derogatory, that's different. But if someone genuinely doesn't know, you can't really, what's the point of knocking them down? Because then then they will have this fear, and then they'll never learn.
Right.
So,
someone said the other day, very succinctly, recognize you made a mistake, apologize, and just move on. Don't make a big deal of it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't, I apologize, and then continue the conversation. I heard a sage piece of advice a couple of months ago, and it still resonates with me. And that is that a lifetime is too short to see everything, right? So a lifetime is too short to learn everything, and we can certainly learn every single day. So I'm excited about that. But Siobhan, what are you going to do next with BON+BERG?
So not writing a book, but maybe just some blog posts. Yeah, I think the next thing, because we're so new, the business launched in February. So basically just trying to get the word out there and get people to try the underwear and realize how awesome they are. And so, yeah, I think for the next little while, it's just, doing a lot of marketing and reaching people and talking to people, after getting over my fear of doing that.
Well, you're here today and you're doing a great job.
So yeah, shouting about the brand, and then in the pipeline, we have some new designs and colors coming out. Hopefully either before Christmas, fingers crossed, or in the new year.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and then the other side is just keeping, so the brand, the reason I started the brand was to make nice underwear, obviously, first of all, but the other side of it was that I wanted to spread this idea about slow fashion and sustainability, and that, so we're also creating a lot of content and trying to spread this message as well. So hopefully work on that and see, can BON+BERG build some collaborations with other people and do some nice projects like that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And then Tony, would you like to share a little bit about what your wife is doing? I was intrigued when you said printable, items, makeup, earrings, things like that.
Well, my wife, so her main, her day job is an architect. She works for a small firm that's spread across the US. They all work remotely, and they are doing renovations of Veterans Administration VA hospitals.
Oh, great.
And but probably, I don't know, some time ago she had a sabbatical, and she started making earrings on the side and started doing designs, and she made some like wearable cardboard cutouts for children. So she started a brand called Design Kids Habitat, I don't know, some time ago, and then she got into making earrings. And because she's a quiet lady, she likes to make earrings on the laser printer at the library, but she doesn't enjoy public speaking and connecting to people and things like that. I think that's probably more my blessing, I think, and gift. So she's made lots of earrings up, but she hadn't really sold many of them. And we met actually in July 2019 on through a Bumble app. We got married we got married last year, October 10th.
Well,
So we've been married, just coming up to a year. But she's making earrings, but we just hadn't got ourselves into the marketplace. So being the kind of encourager personality I am, I tended to say, let's sign up for some craft fairs in the city and things like that. And so, and because I do social media for the nonprofit, figuring out how all the technology works, and my background's in process improvement and process mapping and all that kind of stuff. All the gubbins behind how a business operates is my blessing.
Yes.
I think that we make a good team. So she makes good products, and I help get it out there. So we've done 2 craft events this year. We're doing another one.
Great.
Yeah, we're doing another one on October 2nd. Actually, in an area of the city of Kansas City at 30th and Troost, where there's a Troost-palooza event.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, which is it's a lot of refugees come through 31st and Troost and getting help to get back in, to help to acclimatize themselves to American culture. So, so we just make earrings. She makes them, and
that's great.
With the 3D printing, because I've got a manufacturing background, I just bought a printer last year thinking I could help with COVID and make something, but it didn't arrive in time. So I kind of put it together, and I'm learning out how to, she uses Revit and architecture software all day long, but she doesn't have enough time to help me with design. So I had to find another app that would help me get started. So I'm learning an engineering software while I'm trying to while I'm doing my day job, and lots of things going on. So does that explain
welcome
things?
to the world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Right, ladies? We can all certainly relate to that.
Yeah, I think I really think that actually the nonprofit I work for, we have a lady who's speaking October 10th at our 20th anniversary. The ministry's been around for 20 years, and the lady's speaking about sort of women of the Bible. And I was thinking how women have always been, how do you say, great at startups, and they get so much more of a rude awakening to life early on with who they are and their bodies and things like that. That I always felt like the women have always been given a raw deal, and I think now, not just now, but over the last 20, 30 years, that's really women are now starting to take the leadership role in the world that they are due. I'm really glad to see that. My wife is really the entrepreneur from a making perspective, but she also creates a balance in my sort of trying to get things done super quickly. So it's good. We listen to each other, so we're a good partnership. Yeah.
That's what you need in business, is a good partner. Yeah. But I think also the things that women have been through make us stronger.
Yeah, I agree.
And make us really good business partners as well, because we have that resilience almost built in.
Yeah, that's right.
We are coming up on time, but I wanted to give everyone one last minute to, if you have any questions for Mevish or Shreya or Siobhan, and then, any last thoughts, Mevish and Shreya, before we go, and Siobhan? Mevish?
While we're waiting for questions, I have a question for Carolyn.
Sure.
So Carolyn, now that you're working on Startup Grind, and I know you also have a business in the, like, can you tell us, like, what are your plans for the rest of the year? I'm really, like, interested to hear about this
Sure.
business.
Sure. I actually have learned a lot because of Sprinters. We started a company and got a client, worked through that, but learned a lot about myself and realized that, I didn't really want to be much of a consultant. So we shut that down, and I'm starting a new organization called Equity Partners. And it's for the meeting and hospitality industry to learn how to plan inclusive, diverse, and equitable events, not just for the attendees, but to look at the partner ecosystem and, look at your vendors that you're bringing in. Are they women-owned businesses or marginalized group businesses, BIPOC businesses? Who are your vendors? Who are your attendees? I worked for a large global company, and we always went with the very large planning organizations to help us with a global conference. And I used to always say, there's plenty of planners locally that we could probably work with, probably save money. We'd learn more about the local environment. We're taking our conference into that community. What does that footprint look like? And, I would get poo-pooed on stuff like that, and now, of course, they're all thinking, how can we be more inclusive? What does that footprint look like in a community when we're bringing 20,000 people in? And how can we mitigate some of that carbon and waste and be sustainable? So I really want to help meeting planners and event hospitality individuals figure out how to do that and plan a little bit better. And with Startup Grind, I have an event coming up. I just got chosen for Global Entrepreneur Week. So I'll be doing 2 sessions, one for Startup Grind and then one called What's Your Bias? And I'm excited and scared, because I'm excited because it's my first workshop, and I'm scared because it's my first workshop. So that's coming up on November 9th and November 10th. So I will be putting some information out for that. And, honestly, I love food. And in the back of my mind, I really want to start a food company. So I'm thinking about little food competition between my daughter and I, like filming that. We'll take a recipe and we'll both make it. She follows the recipe to the letter. I play with them and I add different ingredients, because I don't like to follow recipes. And I thought that might be a fun sort of reality show, if you will. So we've been talking about that, and that's probably more sometime next year for that. But, thank you for asking. And certainly with Startup Grind, what I want to do is bring together more diverse conversations and events and really start to promote business. I always say the next Mark Zuckerberg or, Mr. Page is out there. However, for the majority of us, we're just your average normal person who wants to start a business and, do good in the world. And we're never going to be that, next Google or Facebook, but we still need all the same resources and all the same access and all the same help. And, that's really what I hope to do with the Startup Grind here in Kansas City and with, all of you in my network. So thank you so much for being here today. This has been really great. Really appreciate it. Any last thoughts or questions from anyone?
I wanted to say thanks for getting together and being able to talk.
Much. It's been a pleasure.
Yep, and I just want to share my screen, and I want to say thank you to everyone that joined us today. And we will certainly have another conversation very soon, and look for the Startup Entrepreneur Week Kansas City session on Wednesday, November 10th.
Okay.
Great. I'm going to stop recording.